I'm kind of excited about this episode today because, we've been talking a lot about social media, and we are going to look at a list that I found from a book that I have not read. But it's the 36 lessons from the book Rework by Jason Fried. Hmm?
I would guess it's pronounced Freed, but it
Oh,
might be Fried. It's Fried.
yeah. Who knows? I feel like if it was Freed, it would be Freid, but maybe not.
Yeah. Well, after we get off, I'll give him a call and see
Okay.
what he has to say.
All right. This is a long list, and it's really about the rules of new entrepreneurship, which I think is cool because, we like to talk about doing things your way, my way. And sometimes that's not like the traditional way of like how people like to do things in business.
Yeah.
So that's why this list really kind of like caught my attention, is because it's the rules for new entrepreneurship. And I agree with a lot of them. So I've picked five that really resonated for me and that I wanted to share with the listeners. And I think, Ryan, you're picking some as well. You don't know the ones I've picked.
Correct. And as we talk, I'm just scanning this list. There's one I definitely want to talk about that has to do with drug dealers, which I find fascinating. And I picked this one out because I've thought of this metaphor before that the author has at that point number 20. What is it? Anyway, it's in there somewhere. We'll get to that one. 24. But yeah, let's just get into it.
Yeah.
These are okay. So the title of the article is 36 Lessons from Rework by Jason Fried or Fried. And then it's a bunch of pretty non-traditional advice on how to be successful in entrepreneurship. We've vetted the list. It's a good list. Let's talk about the list.
Let's do it.
Cool.
All right.
Boom.
So
Preamble complete.
So number one for me, and I don't even know what number this is on the list. I should have written that down. But number one for me is draw a line in the sand. And this really speaks to your why. Why are you doing what you're doing? And this is a question that I find myself coming back to often, because your why is the thing that sets you up as a leader. Your why is the thing that makes people want to follow you, listen to you, work with you, collaborate with you. And when you think about your business, when you think about what you're doing as a coach or a hypnotherapist or whatever it is you're doing, you want to have a belief, right? Like you want to have something that you feel passionately about, that you believe in. You want to have a perspective. You want to have something that you can talk about, right? And since this season is all about social media, knowing your why is going to make creating content, going on social media, like using it as your soapbox, it's going to make it so much easier. There's a quote in here that I thought was really cool. When you don't know what you believe, everything becomes an argument. Everything is debatable. But when you stand for something, decisions are obvious. What I make that mean is just like when you believe in something super passionately, you want to talk about it and you want to share that knowledge with everyone that's following you. And when people hear that conviction, hear that belief, to some people, that's going to be really, really offensive, right? Like people are going to want to unfollow you, or they're going to want to fight you, or they're going to want to, troll you. But to other people, that's going to be very inspiring, and they're going to want to like join you and be part of your belief, right? And listen to you and follow you.
Yeah.
So I like this one.
Yeah. This is something I thought a lot about. And a lot of business coaches really emphasize know your why, know your why, know your why. I'm a little bit, I have a little bit of a different view on this than some people. What if your business is selling manure, right? What if your business is going around to farms and collecting the droppings of cows, putting it in plastic bags and selling it to the world is like, I mean, yeah, I guess technically your why is to bring nourishment to the gardens of the world, to breed beautiful flowers and gardens and et cetera, et cetera. But does my Nana buying a bag of topsoil at the hardware store, like she like, oh, this company's why is the reason I'm choosing this brand over anyone. So I guess you know the audience is getting where I'm going. Or like Coca-Cola. We sell, and I love Coca-Cola, but it's kind of unhealthy, sugary soft drink.
Yeah.
What's their why? Like to bring, you know, and I know, you know, you could make this argument that, well, you know, they bring fun to the world and there's an emotion attached to soda, and there certainly is. But I think the more accurate thing, their why is to make billions of dollars. That's why Coca-Cola, at least today, that's why it exists, because it's a money-making machine. So I do like number five. I think maybe it's, you know, and I'm giving examples outside of the coaching industry. Within the coaching industry, definitely we know the coaches who are doing it to actually make a positive impact on the world are more, or generally more sustainable and more successful in business than the ones who are in it just to be in business or just to make money. But yeah, this one I have mixed feelings about. And then I actually believe that you can kind of be a little uncertain on your why, still be successful if you're just generally committed to helping people and bringing value to the world. So yeah, number five is a good one, but yeah, for me, like I don't put as much emphasis on this as I think a lot of people do personally, and that's my personal opinion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's good. I think for me, I think, the why is important. And this is why. Because, for example, the manure example, if you have two companies, right? One is just like whatever manure company, that doesn't really care, that's just in it for the money. And the other one is like this beautiful manure company that has a backstory, that has like a real belief in why manure is so important for your garden.
yeah,
Which one are you going to choose? Are you going to choose? And then it really also too depends on the buyer, right? The buyer who doesn't care about the story and who isn't attached to it is going to just buy the one that's probably the cheapest if they're in that sort of like lack mentality, looking for a deal all the time. But the one who is hooked into the story of the manure and like how amazing it is and why it's so important, they're probably going to choose the one with the cool story,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So, in a sea of coaches, right, doing very similar things, you're better off, in my opinion, having a why, having a story, having something that you really believe in that you can like put out there, because then people feel that, right? People are like, oh, I want to like go with her. She's got like something cool going on. She's creating like a community. She's creating like a vibe that I want to be part of,
yeah. That's
right?
true. That's true. I'll give you that. I guess also I just kind of take for granted the fact that myself and the other coaches that I surround myself with just have strong whys. Like it goes without saying that yourself, like me, we're in it to help people make the world a better place and live a life of freedom. Like it goes without saying. I don't need to have a mission statement that
Yeah.
says that.
Yeah.
Like there's zero doubt in my mind, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I guess maybe it's easy to forget that for some people that's not the case, right?
Yeah. And I
Yeah,
think for, it could also just come naturally because, the other stuff I have written down here is when you have a why, when you've built a community on a why, when people kind of like get you, when they understand you, they spread the word for you and they'll defend you, right? Like that's when you've become a leader, and that's when you have a why. And that's when that you have a community of people, because people are rooting for you. People are like, oh my God, like think about all the testimonials you have, right? Like people are like, go train with Ryan. He's amazing. And if people are going to talk about you behind your back or say anything mean about you, there's going to be a lot of people, standing up for you and defending you.
Yeah,
So,
that's true.
maybe your why has just come easily and you've never had to like actually sit down with pen and paper and be like, why am I doing what I'm doing?
You know what? I think you're right. I think that's a big part of it. It's just like I said, take it. Perhaps I take it for granted that if in my mind, in my world, if you're a coach, you're in it to help people, right? It
Totally.
should go without saying. But and that's the why. That's the why. It could be more specific for some people or less specific. Like for me, it's pretty vague, but it's there.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. For timing, we got to move on.
Yeah, we got to move on.
We got to move on. What's your next one? Or well, let me pick one.
Okay.
Drug dealer one. Let's go
Oh
to
yeah, I want to hear this one because I don't know what number it is, and I don't think I read that one. So
number 24. I'll read what the author wrote here, and then I'll give sort of my back opinion on this. Drug dealers get it right, the author says. By the way, we don't condone the use, sale, or purchase of illegal drugs or any other illegal activity, obviously. He says here, drug dealers are astute business people. They know their product is so good, they're willing to give a little away for free up front. They know you'll be back for more with money. You want an easily digestible introduction to what you sell. This gives people a way to try it without investing any money or a lot of time. Here's why I've thought of this drug dealer metaphor in the past. And it's that drug dealers by necessity must have this ultra simplified business model. They can't really advertise very easily. Most of them don't have like a social media with like user generated content and all kinds of fun reels and stuff, especially if it's an illegal drug dealer. It's basically just very bare bones money for product, right? Drug dealers don't have well-defined mission statements, well-defined why statements, et cetera, and yet they're able to make large amounts of money. Now, of course, their supply and demand is artificially inflated because the product they're selling is prohibited. All of that factors in. But I mean, the fact remains there's people out there, and it goes beyond drug dealers. There's very honest citizens as well out there that are making a killing, making lots of money with a very bare bones money for product or money for service system. And if they can do it, anybody can do it, right? If they can
yeah,
do it, anybody can do it. And then the author here is saying, I think the point that he's making, a little different than mine, is have so much faith in your product because your product is so good, and know what value you have, and allow that to subcommunicate in your marketing, in your messaging, in the way you speak to clients, so that it sends the message that what you have is great and it's worth investing in.
totally. Yeah, and I like that one too because it makes me think if you are approaching your coaching business as a drug dealer, for example, when you're when you're going online, if you're approaching your business from this perspective, your coaching is so good and you're so passionate about whatever it is you're teaching that you don't even care about giving away the material online for free. Like you don't mind going on a live and like talking about something that you would talk to a private coaching client about because you just know that they're going to get so much value that they're going to be like, oh my gosh, I want to work one-on-one with this person, or I want to hop into her group thing or whatever it might be, right? So you're just so confident in whatever it is that you're selling that talking about it online, giving away free value every day doesn't bother you. Because I know this is a big thing where some coaches are like, oh, I don't want to talk about all the stuff I coach about on social media because then, people aren't going to want to work with me. People aren't going to want to like hire me if I'm giving all this stuff away for free. But that's not the case, right? The more value you put out front, the more people are going to have transformation or change while they're listening to your content. And then they're like, what would it be like if I was actually working one-on-one with this person? I would
Yeah.
have like a massive shift, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a saying, I think I might have come up with this saying years ago, or at least I heard somebody say it and have since forgotten who it was. But the saying is this: all information is free. Your preferred method of delivery is not, right? So if you're willing to do the legwork and research and scour the libraries and archives of the world, there's very little information that you wouldn't be able to find in some format for free. Let's take
Mhm.
the example of Tony Robbins. If I was really patient, I could go to libraries, I could watch YouTube videos, I could dig up old VHS tapes, and I could pretty much hear everything Tony Robbins has to say and share on most topics for free.
Yeah.
But the information is free, right?
Yeah.
But if I want to hear it out of his mouth and see him live at one of his events and be able to ask questions of his coaches at that event, that's not going to be free, right? Likewise, for any coach that's listening, your theories, your coaching methodology, your advice, I mean, you can guard it, but there's probably somebody somewhere giving it away for free anyways, right? In
Exactly.
fact, there's definitely somebody somewhere giving it away for free anyways, whether it's in books or articles or YouTube videos or whatever. But your clients or your prospective clients' preferred method of delivery, which might just be working directly with you in an interactive way, that's what's not free. That's what we charge for, right?
Exactly.
Anyways,
Yeah. It's
there's
the proximity, right? It's you're charging for time with you.
yeah, cool.
Not to sound like too arrogant, I guess. Is that the word I'm looking for?
No, I don't think we're at risk of sounding arrogant.
Okay.
Or maybe who knows? Maybe that statement in itself was arrogant. I don't know. Let's go on to the next one.
Okay. Next one. I didn't write the numbers down, so I'm really sorry. You'll have to like look through, but ignore the details early on. Ignore the details early on.
Yeah.
Because when you ignore the details early on and you stop worrying about like how am I going to do all this stuff, then you just do it, right? Like oftentimes if you're worrying about the details, you get tangled up in the details and then this discourages you from just taking action and worrying about things that you don't really need to be worrying about right now. So ignoring the details early on and just going out there, and when I think about social media and ignoring the details early on, it's like you don't necessarily need to create this huge like content calendar and like have everything mapped out, in my opinion. And like some other, so I mean, I'm not a social media coach, but I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of social media coaches out there that are like, oh my God, you need a plan. You need to have a content calendar. You need to have everything mapped out. You need this. Like I honestly don't work that way. And I never have, even when I had a store that I was using social media to market my product. I just felt inspired to write something and I would write it. And that was it. Right. And I think that once you ignore the details and you just do what is inspiring for you and what is you think is going to like move your business forward, do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with this one. It's very easy for people to fixate on small details that are time wasters when they're early on in a process. And so, if you're a coach and you've not served many clients yet, your number one priority needs to be getting clients and accepting payment for your services by any means, right? And so the example would be, well, I can't accept payments from prospective clients yet because I haven't figured out my PayPal and Stripe accounts and how to accept payments, right?
Yeah.
And then people go down this rabbit hole of, oh, well, I need to integrate Stripe with my website so I can make everything automated and blah, 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 blah. Figure that out as you go. If you need to at first accept like an old school Venmo transfer or an old school e-transfer, on a case-by-case basis from clients, just do that so that you can, have those transactions happening and then figure out the finer details later. Likewise, like if you want to be accumulating email addresses and have a newsletter, but you don't yet know how to like use MailChimp or some other fancy email provider, just have like a doc file on your computer of email addresses from people that or even a piece of paper on your desk
Yeah.
of email addresses, right? People will waste a week trying to learn, email marketing rather than taking meaningful action, which is collecting the addresses and sending nurturing emails or sales emails to their people. I think that's what this point means, right? Don't fall into that busy work trap that feels like you're being productive, even though you're not actually providing a service for compensation, which is what your primary focus needs to be if you're an entrepreneur.
Totally. Yeah,
Uh,
like don't overthink it.
yeah, don't overthink it. Yeah. Okay. Is it my turn to pick one?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a good one. Number two on Freed's list is planning is guessing. Planning
Mm,
is guessing. He says writing a plan makes you feel in control of things you can't actually control. Plans let the past drive the future. And he goes on from there. There's a great expression from the military, and it's that no plan survives first contact with the enemy, right?
mm,
You can have a plan if you know they're coming or you know they're going after them, but you don't really know what's going to happen until you get there. Likewise in coaching, likewise in entrepreneurship. Have a plan, sure, but know that you as a necessity, and this is non-negotiable, you need to have behavioral flexibility and be dynamic, right? When that coaching client shows up on your call and you hear the story face to face, finally, it probably will and probably should change your plan for how you were going to assist them, right? That's why there's no perfect checklist or perfect framework for a perfect coaching session. It depends on the real dynamic human person that's across from you. And likewise in business, right? Like maybe you think you're going to get all your clients from Facebook, and then you start using Facebook and you realize you don't like it, it's complicated, you're not getting the attention you want. Meanwhile, over on TikTok, you're getting a million views on your videos. Well, even though the original plan was Facebook, great. Well, now you're getting all this traction over here. Pivot your efforts and use the path of least resistance. This might sound like common sense, but a lot of people, don't do this. A lot of people become fixated on the plan and try to force it to work rather than making small adjustments to course.
yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, you need to be, you need to have that behavioral flexibility and you need to see what's working for you instead of like making things work for you. Right. I think we've said enough about that.
Yeah. Let's
I'm going to bring up my next point.
yeah, what's your next one?
Making the call is making progress. So this is just make a habit of making decisions. And the quote that I love from this is you can't build on top of, in quotations, will decide later, but you can build on top of, in quotations, done. Right. So it's just like, how are you moving things forward every single day? How often are you saying, oh, I'll figure that out later, or I'll do that later, instead of just making a decision and being like, yes, let's do it now, today. Right. So, if we're thinking about social media, it's like decide you're going to do a collaboration with someone and do it. Right. Decide you're going to go live every day and do that. Decide you're going to post content every single day and do that. Don't just kind of like say you're going to do it and then not do it, right? Like just make a decision, make the call, and then you're going to see momentum, right?
Yeah.
Because you could sit around for a week being like, oh, yeah, I should totally do a live. Or, yeah, I should, thinking about, oh, yeah, that would be a really good person to collaborate with. And you just think about it, but you don't actually send them the DM and be like, hey, I really love your content. Do you want to do a collaboration together? Or, getting on Instagram and being like, I'm going to go live every day. You don't even have to announce it. You can just decide that that's what you're going to do. And you just go live every day for an X period of time. Right. So it's just like decisions are progress. When you decide you're going to do something, then you put it into action and you actually start to see things progressing. Right. It's just like with this podcast. When I invited you to do a podcast, it was just like, okay, let's do it. And then I think the next question was like, when do you want to start? Like, when are we going to record our first episode? And it was, I think, like the week later, something like that. Like it was very quick.
Yeah.
And now we're like 55 episodes later,
Yeah.
right? We could have spent the last year planning and creating the perfect podcast and all these things, but we just made decisions along the way. And, 3 seasons in, we've got a lot of stuff to show for it.
Yeah. 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 I really like that one. What was the exact wording of the
Making the call is making progress.
making the yeah, making so yeah, in Bob Proctor's famous coaching program, Thinking into Results, the first lesson is on being decisive,
That's right.
right? Really drives home the point on how important it is. First or second, I think it was the first, on being how important it is on being decisive. And I think, there's that famous quote. I don't know if it's from Bob or somebody else, but make up your mind quickly, change your mind slowly, right? Be
Mhm.
decisive, because being decisive enables you to make action or to produce action, and producing action enables you to get a result, right? But
Yeah.
being indecisive breeds hesitation, and then you don't get results, good or bad, and therefore have no additional data to know whether you're on course or not. So, yeah,
Yeah.
boom,
I
got
love
it.
that one. Be
Cool.
decisive.
Yeah,
Be decisive. Be decisive. Is that a thing? I don't know. Or did I just make that up?
I don't know. I don't know. Um, yeah. Okay. Let's do, I think we got time for one more.
Yeah, one more. And then I have a bonus
Okay.
that I want to add in.
Cool. Okay. Is it my turn to
Yeah.
pick one? Where's the one that I wanted to share? It is, oh, I know what it was. Do it yourself first, number 27 on the list.
Mm.
This is really important for entrepreneurs. Really important for entrepreneurs. Not following this one, I've seen a lot of people lose lots of time and lots of energy and lots of money making this mistake. So Fried says, do it yourself first. Never hire someone to do a job until you've tried to do it yourself first, or you've done it yourself, I would argue. That way you'll understand the nature of the work. You'll know what a job well done looks like. Basically, it's a little bit dangerous to outsource work in your business that you don't intimately understand how it works, how much time and effort is required to do it, and what the result should look like. And let me give you a really easy example. Everybody knows somebody who paid $5,000 or $10,000 for a bad website. Everybody knows somebody who paid a big chunk of money for a website that, if they'd done a little bit of Googling, a little bit of YouTubing, they could have made themselves, and maybe made it even better in one afternoon, right?
Mhm.
And that would be 100% prevented if, these people had taken that one afternoon to be like, okay, let me understand web design, let me do some research, let me try this for myself, see if I can do it, see what work is involved, right? This is fresh in my memory because I was talking about this with some other coaches and entrepreneurs at the conference I'm at yesterday. And a very, very successful coach in the hypnosis industry was saying, he has this client and they had paid X dollars for this to outsource this service. And he was like, I can't even conceive how like it could cost that much. Right. But it's not just the money. It's the quality of the work that you're going to get. It's really hard to outsource or hire out if you don't know precisely what you need, right? Because then how can you even select the best vendor for the service that you want? Thoughts on that one, Alana Banks?
Yeah, well, I think this is a big one, especially with social media, because I think a lot of people are quick to want to hire out their content, hire out social media management, all that stuff. And I would say you want to keep that pretty close to your chest. If you want to hire out anything in your business, I would say, like, get a food prep service, get someone to do your laundry, get someone to clean your house. Like, those are things you want to hire out for when it comes to your business, when it comes to the thing that you're most passionate about, especially when it comes to your social media content, and like those are your words out there in internet land. You want to do that yourself.
Yeah. It's as somebody who's now gotten pretty good with social media, and kind of very aware of the games people are playing on social media. It's very obvious to me when a coach on social media has outsourced their engagement
Yeah.
versus are doing it themselves. It's very obvious in the comments that I get in my on my posts, in the DMs that I get. It's plain as day when it's somebody's been hired to pretend to be the account holder and to engage with people. And it's by far worse than no engagement at all. When I get a message that's clearly masquerading as a person, but I can tell it's written by some third party and it's got that little generic tinge to it, it damages rapport. It makes me think, it gives me a gross feeling. And it's 100% the result of ignoring this do it yourself first, because if those people took the time to really engage and understand what engagement is like online in the social media space, they would not have hired, these particular services. And I'm sure there's great ones that are able to do it really effectively and do a really good job as well. But in order to select them, you need to understand the ins and outs of what you're hiring them to do.
Yeah, 100%.
Cool.
All right. So the bonus one, and I think this is really good, is reasons to quit. Here's some important questions to ask yourself to ensure you're doing the work that matters, right? Because sometimes you're going to be doing stuff, kind of like we were talking about, and it's just not working. And so you need to have that behavioral flexibility to be like, okay, this isn't working and I need to pivot or change course, right? So some questions you can ask yourself are like, why am I doing this? What is it for? Who's benefiting? What's the motivation behind this? Right. And once you kind of like start answering these questions, and if they're not in alignment with whatever it is you're doing, then just like be okay with not doing that thing anymore. Maybe it's like you've tried Facebook groups like a billion times and something is just not gelling. Maybe this is not the right avenue for you. And it's okay that there's tons of other coaches out there who have successful Facebook groups, but maybe for whatever it is you're talking about, it just doesn't work. And that's okay. Like, is this actually useful? Is a question you could ask yourself. Like, do I need this? Is another question you could ask yourself. A lot of us, I think, want to force something that's not working because we think that it should be working because it's working for everyone else. But sometimes it just doesn't work for you, and that's okay. And you can stop doing it. So just give yourself that permission to be like, it's okay if this isn't working for me. Like, for example, I've tried to do a Facebook group many times. I had a very successful Facebook group with my fabric store, but for whatever reason, in the coaching realm, Facebook groups don't work for me. And I actually don't like, the reason they don't work is because I don't like them and I don't want to manage one, right? And I don't want to be like facilitating and doing all this stuff. So it's okay that I don't have a Facebook group.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can do anything, but you can't do everything. And you don't need to do everything, right?
Yeah.
Like everything works, but everything doesn't need to work for you, right?
Yes.
Love it. We're out of time.
Yeah, we're out of time. That was a good list. What do you guys think? Send us a message. We had a nice shout out on Instagram all the way from, is it Germany?
Is it Ilya?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah.
I don't think I saw that one. Did we get a nice shout out from him? That's nice.
Yeah. He was on a lovely run or walk. I'm not sure, but he did a whole post in German. I think he speaks German. And then he did a whole post in English shouting out, "It's the No Excuses podcast."
That's so nice. That's so nice. Thank you to him. Mm-hmm. I'm sure he's listening. So thank you very much. So nice.
So
cool.
Nice. All right. Well, we got to run.
Yeah.
So we'll just wrap it up here. Ryan's at a conference. I'm hosting HypnoFlow still this month. So if you're available, if you're in the Toronto area, reach out to me and I'd love to see you at one of my HypnoFlow classes this month. And follow us on Instagram at It's the No Excuses Podcast. Send us messages. We love you. And we'll talk to you next week.
All of that. Yes. Agreed. Bye.
Bye.